after using Johnson & Johnson talc products.
Call our lawyers at 1-800-835-1207 now.
Johnny Depp is the one who brought the lawsuit against Amber Heard. He is the one who made the decision to make all of the recordings and intimate private details about his life and Amber's life public. And today, he was back on the witness stand explaining why.
No matter what happens, I did get here, and I did tell the truth, and I have spoken up for what I've been carrying on my back.
Johnny also talked about his ex, Kate Moss, who also testified today.
I remember looking and seeing Kate coming out the door, and she slipped, her legs went up.
And there had been a rainstorm, and as I left the room, I slid down the stairs.
And Johnny also had to face a brand new round of intense cross-examination from his nemesis, Mr. Rottenborn.
That's not a handle of vodka.
Objection calls for speculation.
I think you'll find that I said 2 bottles.
Tonight, we look at all the big moments from court as the trial the nation is watching. Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard continues.
I'm exhausted. Great to have you with us here in Closing Arguments. What a day. I mean, so much happening as this trial is starting to speed up on us as it's getting ready to wind down. Witness after witness after witness on the rebuttal case. A lot to take in all day, but clearly the star today was Johnny Depp, the sequel. Back up on the witness stand in his rebuttal case. Johnny Depp, again, speaking to this jury, answering the questions the way Johnny Depp answers questions, using the language that Johnny Depp uses. Never seen a witness like him before, and I don't think we'll ever see one like him again here on your front row seat to justice. You know, but anytime one of the parties to a case, whether you're the plaintiff, defendant, retakes the stand, it's risky business. I mean, that should be the name of this sequel, Risky Business, starring Johnny Depp, not Tom Cruise, Johnny Depp. Because when you get it back up on the stand, they've got another transcript, more prior testimony, more statements, everything that you've said leading up to that moment can and will be used against you if what you say now is different than what you said before. And now he's testifying again. But for Johnny Depp, this is exactly what he wanted. But for Amber Heard, she never wanted any of this. She never wanted this trial. She never wanted to testify. She never wanted to be in the courtroom. She never wanted all these headlines. She clearly didn't want all these folks on social media talking about her and what she has said and how she looks and everything else. It was a much different situation for Amber Heard, but she did testify. Amber Heard testified, and she told her story. And she told this jury and the world what happened to her. You know, she told her story, absolutely. And she talked about all these incidents of abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse. And for her, she didn't want to, but what she got up there, she had to say what she had to say to defend the lawsuit and to bring her own case against Johnny Depp and prove her case against Johnny Depp. So when Johnny Depp took the stand today, this became his final statement on this, but for him, it was an opportunity to put some context in what this was about. And for Johnny Depp, the moment inside the courtroom where he's able to speak is something he's waited 6 years to do. You know, looking at this case from Johnny Depp's perspective and trying to answer the question, why would he do it? Why would he bring this case? Why would he bring all this attention? Well, he answered that today. He answered that today because he explained what it's been like from his side, being accused of being an abuser, of a sexual abuser, and, you know, having to deal with the articles that were written and the publicity that existed and how he was perceived by the outside world, never getting an opportunity to tell his story. And he explained that during his rebuttal testimony. Pretty powerful stuff that he ended his direct on. Let's take a listen.
What has it been like for you to listen to Ms. Heard's testimony at this trial?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
Oh, overruled.
Insane. It's insane to hear heinous accusations of violence, sexual violence, that she's attributed to me, that she's accused me of. I don't think anyone enjoys having to split themselves open and tell the truth. But there are times when one just simply has to, because it's gotten out of control. Horrible. Ridiculous, humiliating, ludicrous, painful, savage, unimaginably brutal, cruel, and all false. All false. I wanted no human being is perfect, certainly not. None of us. But I have never in my life committed sexual battery, physical abuse, all these outlandish, outrageous stories of me committing these things and living with it for 6 years and waiting to be able to bring the truth out. So this is not easy for any of us. I know that. But no matter what happens, I did get here, and I did tell the truth, and I have spoken up for what I've been carrying on my back reluctantly for 6 years.
Thank you. No further questions. All right.
And even if she did have any more questions, she was not going to ask him after that. And that was how he finished his direct. But as I said, when you take and then retake the stand, it's always risky business because you also have to face cross-examination. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter. Joins us live from outside the courthouse in Fairfax County, Virginia tonight. Chanley, great to see you. Tell us a little bit about the cross-examination of Johnny Depp. Finished strong on direct.
Right, ring the trip gong. Round 2, Rottenborn versus Johnny Depp. It was playing out inside the courtroom. What a moment. But Johnny Depp tipped his hand that he wasn't going to take anything from Rottenborn, even on direct. Here's my favorite moment of the day. Let's watch.
And and I recalled the story to her.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Please continue, Mr. Depp. What did you tell Miss Heard about the staircase, or Kate Moss?
I'll make it easy for Mr. Rottenborn.
Did you catch that, Vinny? The gallery sure caught it. They laughed, and two of the jurors even smiled. They caught it as well. Clearly, they don't like each other. But it played out on cross with some of the same themes that we witnessed on the cross several weeks ago, but we were witnessing some new text messages before this jury trying to paint him as a really unlikable guy. Let's watch part of the cross.
Mr. Depp, you said she's begging for total global humiliation. She's gonna get it. I'm gonna need your texts about San Francisco, brother. I'm even sorry to ask, but she sucked Mollusk's crooked and he gave her some lawyers. I have no mercy, no fear, and not an ounce of emotion, or what I once thought was love for this gold-digging, low-level, dime-a-dozen, mushy, pointless, dangling, overused, flappy fish market. I'm so happy she wants to go to fight this out. She will hit the wall hard, and I cannot wait to have this waste of a out of my life. I met a sublime little Russian here, which made me realize the time I blew on that 50-cent stripper. I wouldn't touch her with love. I can only hope that karma kicks in and takes the gift of breath from her. Sorry, man, but now I will stop at nothing. Let's see if Mollusk has a pair. Come see me face to face. I'll show him things he's never seen before, like the other side of his when I slice it off.
Invective text messages, and you could see it affecting Amber Heard clearly in the courtroom as that was read before the world. And she continued to act emotional as he was on the stand, of course, but it ultimately culminated with a redirect to try to rehabilitate it and allow him to explain away some of those text messages, Vinny.
Yeah, it was some of those text messages intense, and some of them he said, I didn't even write. So that's another whole issue on whether the jury believes that someone else had his phone and was writing text messages. Let's talk about the most important people in the courtroom as we get ready for closing arguments and deliberations. The jury. What can you tell us about the jurors today?
A lot. I could go on all night and talk about these jurors because I've been watching them every day, all day for weeks. But I put together a chart that shows our viewers how they sit up there in the jury box. We have, of course, 9 jurors. Right now, 6 men, 3 women, and I mentioned juror number 2, 8, and 9 quite a bit because those are the 3 who seem less hesitant, especially this week, to show reaction, emotion, whether it's a slight smile, a laugh, a nod. Other jurors on this panel are quite inscrutable, Vinny, and juror number 1 seems to show up tired every day, but other than that, they're very difficult to gauge. But that's how they sit in the courtroom, how they look at the well of the courtroom and take in all of the evidence. I want to just point out juror number 2. Again, I know I told you weeks ago when Johnny Depp was on the stand that he got a kick out of Johnny Depp's wisecracks. He did again today.
A lot of young folks on that jury, and it'll be 7 that will deliberate. There was another witness that kind of caught, I mean, Johnny Depp, obviously the big witness today, but there was another witness that kind of caught the attention of this jury today.
It did. The day culminated with a former Seattle airport employee, Vinny, who was a last-minute witness, like last night, brought before the judge, allowed her testimony via video. Beverly Leonard, she described for this jury 13 years ago, I believe in 2009, she intervene when Amber Heard was allegedly assaulting her then partner, Taja Van Ree, ripping off her necklace, leaving a red mark around her neck. And in those moments, she's describing this altercation at the airport. All 9 jurors' heads were down writing notes. I rarely see that as witnesses took the stand over the last several weeks. So they were engaged, really listening to Leonard as she talked about previous alleged abuse at the hands of Amber Heard's with other partners, Vinny. That's huge for Depp's case.
Oh, it's enormous because it's the type of stuff that resonates with the jury. Okay, you're in another relationship. What happened there? Oh, wait, Amber was the aggressor and this person had to break up the fight in a public place in the airport. And then you've got, on the other hand, Kate Moss coming in and saying, oh, he was great. You know, I fell down the stairs. He picked me up and carried me back inside. Very big contrast. Effective rebuttal case today. A lot of times rebuttal cases are much ado about nothing. Today's was pretty impactful. Chandler, we'll check back with you in just a little bit. Want to bring in our special guest. Joining me in Alexandria, Virginia. You know her, New York Times bestselling author of the book, You Can't Lie to Me, retired ATF investigator, world-renowned body language expert, Janine Driver, back with us. Great to see you, Janine.
Nice to see you, Vinny.
Let's start with Johnny Depp, the way he finished that direct examination with, I think it was about 4 minutes, a 4-minute answer with dramatic pauses, everything else involved in it. What did you see from his body language?
I love that you talked about dramatic pausing because that's what I want to talk about, Vinny, is this. I like to say the more tension, the more they pay attention. As a matter of fact, I teach corporate executives how to control their tone and pitch and pausing. It's my biggest weakness because I'm from Boston originally and I talk fast.
I'm from Jersey. I got it too. I'm from Jersey.
The more we pause, Vinny, the more tension, the more they pay attention. We were all riveted. Plus, he has this deeper voice. Research shows that when you have a deeper voice, you increase connection. So I'm sure the jurors were riveted. With regard to his eye movements, Vinny, what we see here is indicative of someone telling the truth. He's looking upper left. You know, he's thinking, he's trying to gather his thoughts. It's pretty indicative. He stutters a little, but we saw him stutter in 2004 when he did an interview with Kate Winslet over on Oprah. So this is his baseline, is a little bit stuttering when talking about emotions. But then when he says it's all false, unimaginably cruel, he looks to his down right. His downright, think of the expression, I was downright livid. I was downright angry. When someone looks to their downright, not from your perspective, but from theirs, this is emotion. My mom passed away of breast cancer 9 years ago, but when she was going through the whole cancer and chemo, and I would come and I'd see her looking downright and I'd touch her shoulder and say, are you feeling okay? And she goes, how do you do this to me? How do you know these things? It was so simple. I just would see her looking downright. Now, down left is internal dialogue for most people. Sometimes these can be backwards if you're left-handed. Johnny's baseline when he is talking about emotions, he is going down right, which makes me believe that's his baseline. So this is all authentic. What he's saying in this pausing and tone makes us pay attention.
Janine Driver, you will be with us for the whole hour. It works.
Thank you.
It works. It was so, all right. Janine, staying with us.
Jersey.
All right, we got it. When we come back, we're going to talk about more of Johnny Depp's testimony, including testimony about Amber's sister Whitney and that relationship, what he saw, what he witnessed, and what do we take away from it all. We'll bring in our experts. Don't go anywhere.
JoinCalibrate.com.
How would you describe your relationship with Whitney when you were in a relationship with Ms. Heard?
I liked Whitney very much. Initially, well, I mean, when I first met her, I liked her very much, and grew to love Whitney very much, because I always, it seemed, Whitney, Amber's sister, Whitney seemed to always get the sort of dirty end of the stick, and I felt bad for her for that, because it wasn't new. It had been there for life.
So Amber's sister Whitney, a crucial witness in this case for Amber Heard, because she is the witness who sees and is an eyewitness to the alleged physical abuse by Johnny Depp. Not only did she see Johnny Depp punch Amber several times with his casted right hand, but also was a victim of Johnny Depp, saying that she got struck in the back by Johnny when he ran up the stairs in the staircase fiasco. Let's take a listen to more of Johnny Depp's testimony today from his rebuttal case, talking about Whitney and Amber and the dynamics of this relationship.
I took to Whitney very, very quickly, very easily. She was a very sweet kid. She was wonderful.
What do you mean that Whitney got the dirty end of the stick?
It was a kind of a strange combination of loving sister, trusted sister and friend, and then lackey, and then, you know, either the punching bag or the dartboard, or the recipient of some rather demeaning and ugly words, or she would have wine thrown in her face.
And who was the source of those demeaning words and the wine that you just referenced?
Well, that would be Amber Heard, her sister.
And how do you know that?
Well, I witnessed quite a lot of it. The wine in the face was something that happened in New York, which I think that even made it into the papers. I believe that even made it into the papers. It was in an elevator.
Did you ever see Miss Heard physically attack Whitney?
No, I've never seen any full-on blowouts, physical blowouts between them. Tons of verbal blowouts.
Objection beyond the scope.
Overruled.
I've certainly seen Miss Heard grab Whitney, push her around. There were a number. There were half a dozen times when some of us, whoever was in the general vicinity, would have to leave. This is at Orange, when Whitney and Amber were living at Orange. Whitney and her boyfriend at the time, Sean Krajewski, and we had to leave the apartment and wait in the car while they fought.
And when you say fought, do you mean physically or?
Physical. I'm
listening to Johnny, but I'm watching Amber Heard throughout that entire back and forth about Whitney and Amber. Let's bring in our guest, still with us, body language expert Janine Driver. Joining us now in Los Angeles, California, family law litigator, TikTok lawyer, and host of the Love and Order podcast. Check it out. Limor Mojdehiyazad is with us. You can check out her podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and you can check her out on TikTok at Lawyer Limor. Also with us in San Antonio, Texas, forensic psychologist John Delatorre. Great to have everyone here. Limor, your thoughts about the relationship, Amber and her sister Whitney. Johnny's describing she's like the dirty end of the stick, the punching bag, the target, yet she would come into court and testify for her sister. What do you make of this whole situation?
It sounds like a very typical dynamic between siblings, right? You don't always have the physical abuse that he was kind of insinuating, but you do have the verbal attacks by siblings, but it's kind of the blood is thicker than water, right? Maybe they do fight, but she's not coming into court and talking badly about her sister and not backing her up. That was never going to happen. We knew that.
John Delatorre, do you think, and this is what Johnny Depp's team is insinuating, is that Whitney lied for her sister, committed perjury on the witness stand for her sister, and if in fact she's the dirty end of the stick, would a sister still do that?
I mean, if she is the dirty end of the stick, I still imagine that she would, but this would be the type of person that would exaggerate and elaborate. That they would over-embellish a ton of stuff because they wouldn't want the wrath of the older sibling, right? They wouldn't want the wrath of the older sister. So no, I don't think that Whitney is the type of person that's going to go in there and outright lie. She is going to defend her sister, but I don't think she's going to outright lie.
All right, Janine Driver, what did you see from Amber Heard during that last segment of Johnny Depp testimony? A lot of reactions from her.
I could do a 1-hour seminar on this. So her chin is up right here, and this is that superiority, Vinnie, arrogance, fearlessness. Look down your nose at you. She's staring versus gazing, and this staring is confrontational. And then she does this like laughter over her head, like this is very contemptuous of her. I don't like what I'm seeing. And then she does this really interesting thing. She does this eye fluttering. We've seen her do a couple times in the courtroom. This indicates she's hiding something. There's a spike in stress, but then she slaps that smile on right here and then looking for reassurance as this happens. People will say to me, well, Janine, why would Amber lie and be cool as a cucumber? When powerful people lie, Vinnie, a couple things happen. One, they focus on the rewards, not the consequences. Two, when they lie, they have a decrease in cortisol, a decrease in that stress hormone. Three, they have an increase in positive emotions. Your boss calls you out, Vinnie, and you slap a smile on you, yell, yeah, what's up? How can I help you? What's going on? You know what? You dropped an F-bomb on me. When powerful liars lie, they have an increase in cognitive thinking. Think of Casey Anthony. Think of Jodi Arias. Jodi Arias, where were you? I was camping in the mountains, a state away. Well, we have your DNA at the scene of the crime. Well, yeah, but it was. They told me if I said anything, they'd kill me and my family. Yeah, the DNA is your handprint, Jodi, and Travis Alexander's blood on a wall. I was a battered woman. That increase in cognitive thinking, when one lie doesn't work, they can slap their chin up with a smile and come up with something else. I think that's what we're seeing here, and how she thinks she's getting away with it, but I don't think she is.
Limor, what did you think of Johnny Depp overall today? Was this an exclamation point at the end of the case, or were there some problems?
I think that it was very powerful testimony. Again, very genuine. What Janine said earlier is exactly what happened. Those people, everyone was paying attention. I was definitely paying attention, and I was listening to every single word to hear if there was going to be any slip-ups that may not help his case. But he did pretty well on direct. On cross, not as well. He gives a lot of, I would say, attitude during cross-examination, because I think he feels the attorneys are also giving him attitude. We all know that's what happens on cross-examination. Then the redirect went fairly well also.
When we come back, Kate Moss, another A-lister, testifying in the trial. Johnny Depp talking about her. We'll show you exactly what happened.
5978.
And then I remember looking and seeing Kate coming out the door, and there were 3 little wooden stairs, and she slipped, her legs went up, and she landed directly on her coccyx and her lower back. So, and she was obviously physically in pain, and she was hurt, she was crying. So I ran over and grabbed her to make sure she was all right. That's it. That's all I ever. That's the whole story.
Johnny Depp talking about the other staircase, the one with Kate Moss years ago, and telling the story to the jury. This after Amber Heard, during her testimony, when she was talking about her staircase incident, said she was thinking about what happened to Kate Moss with Johnny Depp. So in the rebuttal case, Johnny Depp talked about it, but they also called Kate Moss, who testified. Take a look.
We were leaving the room, and Johnny left the room before I did, and there had been a rainstorm, and as I left the room, I slid down the stairs, and I hurt my back.
How did you...
And
I apologize, Ms. Moss. Please continue.
And I screamed because I was because I didn't know what had happened to me, and I was in pain, and he came running back to help me and carried me to my room and got me medical attention.
Okay, let's bring back in our guest. We've got Janine Driver with us. You can check her out at Body Language Institute on TikTok. Lamor Mojdahizad's with us. John Delatorre. John, forensic psychologist. Let me ask you about the impact of these A-listers, supermodel, because Chanley Painter did comment, being in the courtroom, that once they found out, the jury, that Kate Moss was testifying, sort of perked up a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. You know, this was supposed to be a case full of star power, and here we get our one opportunity to have a major star that everyone across generations is going to know. And absolutely, they're going to pay way more attention. Even if it was a short testimony, they're absolutely going to be riveted to what she has to say.
And you know, Lamor, it was unbelievable to me that the contrast in 2 situations that were described to this jury today, which was Johnny Depp with his ex, Amber Heard with her ex. Johnny Depp, ex, falls down the stairs. He picks her up and brings her back to safety. Meanwhile, Amber Heard is ripping the chain off of her ex and assaulting her in the middle of an airport. That's powerful imagery for this jury.
It's absolutely powerful. And you know, Johnny Depp and Kate Moss were rumored to have trashed a hotel room once together, and he blamed it on an armadillo and all these different things, right? But this testimony was very limited because Amber Heard opened the door by saying she remembered a story about stairs and Kate Moss, and her testimony was limited to clearing that story up, and I think she did it in the perfect way, and there was no room for cross-examination. What are you going to ask her? She's just going to tell you he was amazing, he was Prince Charming. That's all we got.
Yeah, and I mean, Kate Moss still, you know, supermodels. I mean, supermodels look like supermodels. Let's take a listen to a little more of Johnny Depp here talking about Amber and the whole Kate Moss down the stairs story.
But then the rumor of it, I'd never heard a rumor of that before Miss Heard grabbed hold of it.
John Delatorre, he's still really angry with Amber Heard, isn't he? I mean, is it? I mean, it's not, to me, it's not hurt. It's that anger that he has towards Amber Heard. It seems like he is holding her responsible for a lot and is still feeling it here 6 years later.
In his mind, his entire life has been upended. His entire career, everything about who he was as a person has been upended, has been torn apart, has been burned asunder. And this is his opportunity to finally get it out there that, yes, he's not going to be able to hide all of his emotions, and he is going to be experiencing anger, and all of that would be completely understandable.
You know, Janine, watching, and this is a big picture thing, watching Amber Heard throughout the trial, this relationship, and there were times where she was talking and it almost seemed like in that moment she would get back together with Johnny Depp. It really, I've seen that. I don't know if other people felt it, but I felt it during parts of her testimony. What are your thoughts about all that, about what's going on between these two at this point?
Listen, people have written to me on TikTok saying this. I felt this right out of the gate. I still feel it. She started right out of the gate, a week ago, saying he was the love of my life. He still is. I still love him. You know, I've worked with battered women survivors, and the last thing they say is the batterer, the person who beat them, is still the love of their life. It's the opposite. So we do see that, and we see this flirting a little bit with her. I think that inside she's probably like, just look at me. When she does this neck to the side, which is very interesting because we just saw Kate do it as well, but I think Kate did it authentically. This is like this cute thing that she does right at the end. Kate does this illustrator too, which is he came running up the stairs with me, congruent with someone telling the truth. When Amber does it though, I think it's manipulative. I think she's watching my videos with you because I say this, when we grab our chin, we're about to win. And we didn't see this the first week she was in the courtroom, but now we start to see these chin grabs with her. And this comes across as confidence. So I wouldn't be surprised if she would want him back. I don't think, he even said on the stand, Johnny said what? The woman I thought you were never really existed. She didn't exist. You were not real. I don't think he's going back, but I think she'd love to go back.
Fascinating stuff. Appreciate your time. I know it's valuable. Janine Driver, Lamor Mojdehizad, and John Delatorre, thanks again. We'll see you real soon. When we come back, we go back out live to Chanley Painter at the courthouse, Fairfax County. Talk about some of the things that the jury did not see today.
feet, privates, and beyond.
It's been really quiet tonight compared to the chaotic. We did have a couple of people that because some folks would put their stuff and then go back and they were like, oh my God, they're cutting the line, because it filled up again within a nano of a second. So they were almost starting it, and I said, just take pictures, let the deputy know. But I'm not in charge of the line, but it just became like an authoritative figure to help navigate the line. But once those ladies kind of chilled out a little bit, it was much easier.
Unbelievable scene, and this is it. This is the final week. I mean, tomorrow I'm going to be there. It's going to be closing arguments eve. I mean, every courthouses and courtrooms get crowded, but for closing arguments in a big case, that is the day. Let's bring back in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, who's in Fairfax County, Virginia. How have things been for those overnight fans waiting in line?
It still seems to be a struggle because remember, Vinny, we showed you the other night, they aren't allowed to line up until 1 a.m. and we showed you video of this stampede from across the street of the courthouse running to be one of the first in line. But they are trying to work out a way where it's fair and organized. We caught up to one of those who waited in line. Let's listen.
I have been given information before not to come up until 1 o'clock. And if we were caught onto the campus, we were going to get ticketed. All of a sudden, it's like 12:45. We have the crowd run over to the wall. I run over. I'm like, no, the deputy said if you're over here at 1 o'clock, they're going to make you, not only just make you go back, you have to leave the campus now. So we get all the way over there. Then one group said, no, the deputy told us that we can be over there at this specific time at 12:45 as long as we were quiet. So I had brought the whole group back over, and I said, no, come back over. So they all got back in line, and finally it was organized, but it was like hop, hop.
There's always something. I'm hearing about it when I arrive, into the courtroom every day from the people I've really gotten to know, the regulars here that have been here the same as me, like virtually the entire trial. But they even have people that donate and bring food to feed them in the overnight hours, Vinny, as they wait for a wristband. Again, still giving out around 7 a.m. every morning, donuts, pizza. They watched some Jack Sparrow Pirates movies overnight last night, too, waiting in line. They must have heard your recommendation when we were talking to them a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's still unbelievable because when I was there with you the first week, there were people there, but it was like, I went around the corner to the coffee house and people were like, what? Johnny Depp's in town? What are you talking about? And now look where we are, 6 weeks later. Okay, this is a rare moment. You found another Amber Heard supporter.
Right, this young woman has been here for several days. She's braves the sea of Depp fans each day holding a sign. I believe her. There's her sign. And she hands out really nifty little bags that she put together that has information about being a victim of domestic abuse, that you can call this number. It comes with a pen and a piece of candy, Vinny, that she gave us. And it's important for her to be here for many reasons, but she's a survivor of domestic abuse, and she just really felt bad about Amber watching the trial. So let's listen to what she told us earlier. And why are you here today?
To support Amber Heard.
What are you hoping, by being here, hoping to accomplish?
I don't know if I'm hoping to really accomplish anything. It's just, I wasn't even like a fan before, but I was looking online because I saw just this horrific treatment of this woman for seemingly no reason. And there was no one supporting her. Everyone was just joining in. They were turning her sexual assault testimony into a funny TikTok trend where they act it out. They go and they harass her outside of the courthouse every day, and they boo at her and they call her a liar. They say, "We don't believe you, Amber." And it just made me sick. It just made my stomach turn. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and no one was doing anything about it. So this is what I would want someone to do for me, I guess. I were all alone and the entire world hated me for telling a truth that they didn't want to hear, and they were harassing me, I would hope that someone would care enough to come and support me. So, and I feel like I'm the only one here, and that just blows my mind, and it breaks my heart.
So we also, of course, catch up with many, many Depp fans, Vinnie. Even a mother and daughter today that I've met previously said they even feel bad watching Amber Heard depart the courthouse in the evenings, even in the mornings, because of the boos and the jeers that are yelled from this crowd out back. But we have a lot of characters here still. I know I showed you the emoji costume last night. Well, tonight, a woman dressed up as a pirate. Let's watch.
So I guess you're dressed up today to not just visibly show your support, but do you like this character in particular?
Oh, I love Jack Sparrow. I've seen all the movies too many times to count. The character's iconic. Johnny's iconic. I figured, it's an easy costume. Might as well get noticed. I've got nothing better to do, so.
So, what do you think of the testimony so far? Have you been following it online?
I've been following it. I'll see compilations on TikTok or Instagram ads, just seeing the compilations, and I think it's pretty cool. I think Johnny has a lot of good points. I think there's lots of logical fallacies in Amber's case, but that's just my opinion.
And Vinnie, I have to give a huge thank you. The voice there, Grace Wong, our senior director of courtroom coverage, out here helping me catch people, to talk to them outside the courthouse. And our photographers, of course, Justin and Austin and Paul and David, really help gather. There's so much content and so much going on here. It really is a team effort, and we look forward to you arriving tomorrow. And, of course, Virginia.
Yes, we'll be there tomorrow, and we'll do the whole show right there in front of the courthouse. What was it like today for the departures?
Well, this crowd, they not only line the road where Johnny Depp exits the gate in the back of the courthouse, Vinnie, but there's about 6 blocks with people lined up. It's truly like a parade when he leaves the courthouse every night. And, of course, they yell and scream for him. And when he leaves the courthouse, our photographer Austin is there when he arrives, when he departs. And there's some video of him actually leaving the gate. Look at that crowd. It's just continuing to grow and grow. Everyone holding their cell phones up, yelling, holding signs, dressed up. We saw some dinosaur costumes today out and about in the crowd. The alpacas, of course, there as well. And so when Johnny Depp actually departed the courthouse, because this morning he noticed these dinosaur costumes, very noticeable, obviously. So this evening when Johnny Depp left the courthouse, he mentioned something about he hoped the dinosaurs didn't eat the alpacas or something. We'll have to listen to what he says when we showed that clip. But he always has something to say to our photographer, Austin.
Yeah, this is, it's unreal. And remember, this is Fairfax County, Virginia. This isn't like it's the middle of a big city. You've got to, make your way there, and people have done it. Chanley Painter, thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow on the ground at the courthouse. When we come back, we'll bring back in our think tank. Don't go away.
8.
In Fairfax County, Virginia, a huge day in Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard as Johnny retakes the witness stand to respond to Amber's testimony.
It's insane to hear heinous accusations of violence, sexual violence.
Did Johnny Depp win the credibility battle in the courtroom?
I don't think anyone enjoys having to split themselves open and tell the truth.
Did his testimony hold up during cross-examination?
There is no picture of a handle of vodka broken on that floor, is there, Mr. Depp?
No, I don't see it.
Plus, fellow A-lister Kate Moss takes the stand in support of her ex.
Did Mr. Depp push you in any way down the stairs?
No.
On the docket tonight, the Parkland school shooting. The shooter has already pleaded guilty to 17 murders. Now the only question for the jury is life or death. We have a preview.
I knew he wasn't okay when he punched the window in and said, "I'm going to cause karma one day."
Plus, Johnny Depp says his career was damaged by the op-ed written by Amber Heard in 2018. 4 years before all the intimate details of his life and relationship were revealed inside the Virginia courtroom. Tonight's 13th juror question: which was more damaging to Johnny Depp, the op-ed by Amber Heard or the testimony of Johnny Depp? Buckle your seatbelts. This hour of closing arguments starts right now.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us tonight here on Closing Arguments. What an intense day inside the courtroom. A lot of witnesses testifying, but Johnny Depp, clearly the biggest witness of the day. And that back and forth with Benjamin Rottenborn on cross-examination, epic moments. What a back and forth. Two guys not getting along. Two guys trying to win, trying to beat one another. Fascinating to watch. We're going to break it all down for you tonight. Let's get right to it. Let's jump in. I want you to see this. This is the cross-examination of Johnny Depp. One of the things Johnny Depp said on direct examination today when he was recalled to the stand was this was the first time he's been carrying this burden for 6 years, finally in this courtroom had an opportunity to tell his story. Here's how he was crossed on that.
You've claimed several times in this proceeding, Mr. Depp, that this trial is your first chance to tell your story, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
But that's just not true, is it, Mr. Depp? That is not true.
No, for me it is true.
Okay, well, here's the thing. The fact is, Mr. Depp, when Dan Wooten wrote an article that was published in The Sun calling you a wife beater, you brought a lawsuit against The Sun in June of 2018, correct?
Yes, I brought
and that was 6 months before Miss Heard ever wrote her op-ed, correct?
I don't know.
And in the summer of 2020, there was a several-week trial in London against The Sun, correct?
Ms. Heard was not a party to that trial.
Not my question, Mr. Depp. In the article that The Sun wrote that you sued over, you sued for Mr. Wooten calling you a wife beater, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained. Next question.
And in the trial that you subsequently brought, you called a lot of witnesses, right?
I don't know what a lot is. I don't know.
Many people testified on both sides of the trial, correct?
Yes, many people.
And many exhibits were introduced, correct?
Like a trial, yes.
And you, just like in this trial, you were on the stand for several days in that trial, correct?
Yes, sir, I was.
And that trial involved the same factual issues that you were litigating here, which is whether you committed domestic abuse against Amber Heard.
Sustain the objection. Next question.
You brought that case against The Sun because you were angry at the son for calling you a wife beater, correct?
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good reason.
And you went through that trial in London, correct?
I did indeed, yes.
Mr. Depp, you've already had a chance to tell your story, haven't you?
No, there were great limitations in the UK trial.
Okay.
No further questions.
All right.
That's how the cross was finished. I didn't think it was the strongest part of the cross, but what do I know? I just host this show. Let's bring in the think tank. They know everything. Joining us tonight in Orlando, Florida, family law attorney, defense attorney Kyla Coleman is with us. In Los Angeles, California, former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani. And in Phoenix, Arizona, the attorney who represented Jodi Arias and the author of the book series Trapped with Ms. Arias, Kirk Nurmi, with us. So here's the problem I have with this. I'm going to start with Nima because he talks. Don't you talk a lot about that UK trial? You keep reminding us about that. That was a whole different scenario. Number one, he was suing the son. Number two, the way they do trials over there, much different than here. He takes the stand, he's being questioned by the other side, so he's being cross-examined. Never really gets to tell that narrative story that he told us here in Virginia. And three, in England, a couple things. One, they don't let cameras inside, they don't let microphones, and for whatever reason, I still don't know, in 2022, they're still wearing wigs. So, Nima, is that fair?
You know, Vinny, I agree with you completely. Completely different case there. Obviously, Amber Heard's lawyers desperately tried to get this judgment in. It was something that was argued earlier this week. The judge wasn't having it. So this was Rottenborn's way of backdooring it in. You know, really, Depp was phenomenal today. His redirect, that last question he answered before court broke for lunch, probably the best testimony I've seen during this trial. And really the only criticism I have of Johnny today, the only is how he addressed the text messages. He's really pitched a perfect game. Just admit that those were your messages. Yeah. He did during the first testimony, but not so much today. But other than that, A+ performance by Johnny Depp today, Vinny.
Tyler, how do you hold up on cross? For me, cross-examination is yeah, it's about the answers to the questions, but it's also about who's controlling the moment. How did you feel it went on cross-examination?
Exactly. Like I told you before when I've come on here, cross-examination, when I'm in the courtroom, it is my show. In this particular case, it looked like it was Johnny's show. I think that he's done a great job overcoming or changing throughout the trial. I think when he first was on the stand earlier in the case, he was kind of very talking slow and not, relatable with the jury. But now it's very simple answers. He's telling the truth. His body language is good. He's not trying to fight with the attorney, but he does make the attorney look a little unintelligent sometimes. But I'm really not impressed with this cross-examination at all. I think Johnny did a great job.
Kirk, what are your thoughts about the cross and who controlled the courtroom today? Because, Johnny Depp on direct, we've been talking about it, finished with an exclamation point. A lot of great stuff in the rebuttal case for Johnny Depp. But how about the cross-examination, the true test of any witness?
Yeah, I think this was the best cross-exam we've seen out of Team Heard, but I think it's too little too late. I think the cake has already been baked, and Johnny is kind of Teflon at that point in time, especially as Nima referenced that last few minutes, the closing question on direct. He talked about his feelings and getting things off his back and what have you. I think that really connected to the jury. They could really empathize that he's been fighting these battles. And this cross-examination on that point, as it related to the son in England, really wasn't that effective. And you're right, he just kept controlling the narrative. And we put that into context of all the other testimony. Even Nima brought up the text messages, and Johnny talked about the alteration of them. Well, it was a perfect segue to what we heard Mr. Neumeister talk about later in the day, about the possibility that these things are manipulated. So I think it was brilliant on their part, and of course on Johnny's part as well, to draw more suspicion on some of that evidence that Team Heard wants to bring in.
Well, let's get to those text messages, because I thought this was, I agree with Nima. Look at this, we're agreeing. Well, we should agree. Former prosecutors, we should agree all the time. But this was a moment I was surprised that Johnny Depp was going to a place I didn't think he was going to go, because he's admitted so many things during the course of this trial, from the drugs, I mean, it's unreal the things that have come out that he has, owned up to, but not these text messages. Let's take a listen.
You've also said that with
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, that if you want to be with a woman sexually, that she is rightfully yours.
That's ludicrous.
You've also said that with respect to women that you want to be with, you've remarked, I need, I want, I take, haven't you?
Equally as ludicrous, no.
Can you pull up DX883, please?
You can pull it what you like. I've never said those words. There's not enough hubris in me to say anything like that.
883.
Mr. Depp, on February 22nd, 2017, you texted Mr. Deuters, right, exactly, Molly's is rightfully mine. Should I not just and remove its hinges tonight? Did I read that right?
You read it right.
And the one beneath that, you say, I want to change her understanding of what it is like to be thrashed about like a pleading mackerel. And then in all caps, you write, I need, I want, I take. Did I read that right?
You read it right, but I did not write that.
Okay.
Perhaps someone else.
You wrote
had
every
my
other
phone.
text that you produced that came from you in this litigation, didn't you?
Not necessarily. Sometimes you give your phone to people and they
Now,
text
when you got
from it.
off.
All right, let's talk about DX883. Kirk, it's a nasty text message. It's not an admission that he abused Amber Heard, but he's not admitting that it's his. I'm listening to the way it's written, some of that language. It sounds kind of Johnny Depp-y, doesn't it? I mean, the way he, turns a phrase. So what do you think's going on here with DX883?
So someone familiar with Johnny Depp could kind of imitate him in a text message. That seems possible in the same way a photo could be manipulated, right? And you've heard, Vinny, that, this idea, as you said earlier, that he's admitted to these horrific text messages, but when confronted with these, before he even saw him, you can pull up whatever you want. I never said that. He was adamant on the stand. And I think those prior admissions to those other horrific text messages gives him credibility when he denies that. So it does cast suspicion on these text messages, at least in my mind, and probably the mind of some of the jurors.
Kyla, if he wrote it, I mean, you can own up to it. It's something you wrote to one of your friends, one of your guy friends, and this is the way I've seen it in other trials. Locker room talk, right? We've heard about that, right? Locker room talk.
Exactly, and like you said before, if it was something that he can own up to,
so what do you think was going on here? What was going on here in this moment? In this moment where it's in the same place as all the other text messages that they've been reading throughout this trial. It came from him in discovery. What do you think's going on here?
I'll be honest with you. I don't think that, I think it was his text messages, but I think it was something that was egregious. It does make him seem bad. But I mean, Johnny's character is pretty believable so far. He's been impeccable on the stand. He's done a great job. So just own up to it. But at the end of the day, I don't think that this will make or break his case. I think he can overcome this issue because he's done a great job so far. But it was not a good look to deny something when it clearly came from his phone and was provided from his team for evidence.
Yeah, here's the thing about this, Nima, is that if you admit it or say, I don't remember doing it, but I must have, like either way, right? It's not a big deal. It goes into this huge pile, 6 weeks worth of stuff. I mean, where in the pile are you going to see that next to, all the MD, all the ecstasy pills and the drugs and the this and the that? I mean, it's just in that pile, right? But now it's in a different pile. It's in the pile of, well, is he telling me the truth all the time? That's why I think it's a huge deal, because ultimately credibility is everything in this trial.
Well, it is, Vinny, and this is the only criticism I have of Johnny Depp's testimony in this case. Admit it. It is a native message. It came from your assistant. A lot of folks on social media are asking, it says incoming. No. This is a native text that was subpoenaed from your assistant. It came from your phone. Admit it. I love the explanation he had during his case in chief. Look, he uses colorful language. He's upset. He's venting to friends. He learned this from Hunter S. Thompson. I like that story. Johnny, admit it. You didn't have to lie here. This is the one lie in the case. And frankly, the reason no one likes Amber Heard, because she's lied about so much. Separate yourself from her. Keep your credibility with the jury. That's how you win this case.
Yeah, and Kirk, I'm going to ask you to respond to the same point I just made, which is, you admit it. It's nothing. It's not. Yeah, it's ugly, right? But it's nothing compared to all the other stuff that is involved in this case. And now all of a sudden, it is going to be like one of the headlines during those closing arguments for Amber Heard's team.
Yeah, but listen, and I'm going to cast a little more doubt on this. You know, I know it's a native message. It was pulled over on the phone, but we don't know who did it. We don't know who sent it. And why does he, out of all these horrific messages, and I think I could make the argument that some of the messages were way more horrific than these, does he decide to sit there and say no? He denied it before it even was shown on the screen. To me, there's something to that, and it seemed credible when he made that denial. Is it possible he didn't remember? Yes. He was in a stupor? Yes. But his denial was pretty strong on this point, and I think he's built up enough credibility where I think it will cast some doubt in the members of jurors, and it still, I think, will go into the scrap heap, if you will, because he's gained so much credibility. He's Teflon at this point in time.
Yeah, you may be right. To me, it stood out because it was, what's going on here? I mean, and I listened to the words, and you can say, I mean, he has a certain way of creating these images and the way he writes. You know, even when he testifies, the words that he uses, his testimony sounds like his text messages. So, I don't know. I didn't understand it. But when we come back, okay? The Orient Express. We're going back on the Orient Express. What a big controversy today. Who abused who? You're looking at two photos. Is it the same photo? Or has one or the other or both been doctored? What is allegations from both sides now? This is an unbelievable development. We'll take a closer look when we come back.
Designed to take you everywhere.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard had a little bit of a delayed honeymoon. You know, some people do that. They were busy shooting movies and whatever else was going on, right? So their honeymoon was a ride on the Orient Express. And no one murdered each other on that ride, but somebody abused someone. I mean, Amber said Johnny abused her, and here's Johnny telling the jury what happened to him.
And where did you and Miss Heard go on your honeymoon?
We took the Orient Express from Bangkok, Thailand to Singapore.
And what happened while you and Miss Heard were together on the Orient Express?
There were times when it was very agreeable, very nice. And then there were times when something had become dissatisfactory for her, and she would start the rant, the blooming of a fight would be on deck there, and at one point it didn't. I mean, I don't remember it lasting long at all. I just remember that I took a pretty good shot to the face, to the eye, to somewhere up here. So I had a bit of a shiner. But it all ended, and then everything got fine again, and we'd go to dinner, and it was all fine.
Did Miss Heard ever apologize to you for giving you the shiner?
I don't recall.
Mr. Depp, in these pictures that were taken before you got on the train ride for your honeymoon, where you claim that Miss Heard hit you and gave you a black eye, you have the exact same shadow or sunburn or mark under your left eye. The exact same mark, don't you?
That's the, when you get a side light, you see the occipital bone. So that is the exact area.
Yep. And it's actually...
A side light will cause that.
Yeah, well, the picture's not being taken from the side, is it? It's being taken head on, isn't it?
No. The lens in front, the light on the side will cause that occipital bone, I believe it's called, to appear sunken.
Just like lights on the side of a train car, correct?
Objection calls for speculation.
You can take that down, Michelle.
That was, in fact, in the dark. I had a chef, I had people on either side of me, so.
Mr. Depp, this is the same picture, or the same, the exact same scene displayed in PX 162 that you looked at this morning, correct?
That looks like my face has been, the eyes have been photoshopped.
This is the picture. This picture shows an injury to Mr. Depp's face, doesn't it?
I disagree. I've seen this picture.
Okay, Ms. Heard,
I've seen
I
this
got
picture
the answer. Thank
before,
you.
and
You disagree?
he's not injured in it.
He's not injured in this picture. That's your testimony. Fine.
This one is Photoshopped.
Ms. Heard.
Everybody's photoshopping everything. Unbelievable. Let's bring back in the think tank, get to the bottom of the mystery on the Orient Express. Kyla Coleman, what's going on here? Did he get beat up? Is there a black eye in the picture? Is it sunburn? I think we have the side-by-side. Let's put the side-by-side of the same photo. And the one on the left of your screen is the one that Amber Heard's team says is the picture. The one on the right is from Johnny Depp's team. What do you see, Kyla? What's going on?
I mean, honestly, it looks like there had to be some sort of filter or a Photoshop, definitely for the picture on the left-hand portion of the screen, because the lighting looks a little lighter. The lighting in the right picture looks darker. Of course, each picture is going to correspond with whatever each side wants you to believe. But to be honest with you, I feel like Johnny Depp has kind of sunken in eyes, so it's a little hard to determine what really happened here. So I don't know if this picture or these side-by-side pictures might be a wash for the jury, because it's really, really tough to see or differentiate.
Okay, Kirk Nurmi, what happened in that one night in Bangkok where they showed a picture and it looked like he had a black eye before he got on the Orient Express?
Well, look, both parties, Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, are claiming alteration of the photos, right? But what's the big difference? Johnny Depp had corroboration, right? He had Mr. Neumeister come in today. Now, he didn't speak about this photo, if I recall correctly, but he spoke about all the other photos, how they didn't have the source file, they didn't have the camera, they were altered, they were screenshots, all these different things that really cast suspicion on, and going back to what I said earlier, all the electronic evidence they presented. So when Mr. Depp comes forward and says these things were altered and has an expert come talk about how they could have been because, oh, you threw away the phone, Amber. That's convenient, right? So all those things can kind of add up to give Johnny credibility in terms of which photos were actually altered. And it looks very suspicious for Mr. Neumeister's testimony regarding Team Heard or Miss Heard before she got her lawyers altering these photographs and submitting to them in an altered fashion.
Nima, I think you were the only one who smiled when I said one night in Bangkok.
Yeah, I like that reference. But even, you know, I agree with Kurt somewhat, and this is why. Photoshop pictures is a win for Johnny Depp because he doesn't need to prove he was it. He needs to disprove that Amber Heard was, and she has those pictures and she has the videos. And the jurors are going to need to hang their hat on something. You know, we've speculated: is it makeup? Is it filler or Botox? Or is it Photoshop? Something to show that the pictures and videos and the injury evidence that Amber Heard has presented is fake. It's fabricated. Because that's what Johnny Depp needs to prove to win this case. And I think finally today we got the answer. I thought, are we going to have to wait for closing argument to see what Depp's theory of the case is? But now we know, and it's Photoshop. And I agree. Photoshop is a win for Johnny Depp.
You know what's interesting, Kyla? We look at that side-by-side picture. Amber Heard claimed she was abused on the same ride, that she was strangled with I think with a T-shirt or something. And I'm looking at the picture, and I don't know. Are there any strangulation marks anywhere? Do you see?
It's tough. If you look at the picture on the right hand of the screen, if you look around her collar area, it does look a little red. But if you look at her picture that she submitted on the left-hand side, you really can't see anything. So, man, this is crazy the way that things have been kind of fudged a little bit in this case. But I think it'll really be up to the jurors to kind of look at the evidence and really scrutinize what they've been presented.
Yeah, this, you know, as I sit here tonight, I'm going to Virginia tomorrow, be there on the ground for tomorrow night on closing argument eve. Let me ask you a question about that. All three of you, 0 to 10, okay, 0 to 10, 10 being really important, 0 being not important at all. The closing arguments for the 7 jurors who must all agree on this. How important, 0 to 10, Kyla?
I'm always going to give it a 10. You need to be able to wrap up the information for the jury. It's concise, make things make sense. As long as things make sense and it's in a chronological order and it's something that is believable, you have the jury each time. So I do think that there's been a lot of evidence presented, and they're going to have to wrap it up in a tight bow for this jury.
All right, Nima and Kirk, I just need numbers. Nima first.
I say 3 or 4 because both parties have testified. You don't typically get that. The jurors have made up their minds.
Kirk?
It's a 3 for Johnny Depp and a 10 for Amber Heard, because she needs to come back out, dig her out of the hole she's been in for the past 6 weeks.
All right. Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to show you more of what happened inside the courtroom today. Also, you've got that manhunt. The woman in Austin, Texas, wanted in that love triangle murder. We've got the latest from the U.S. Marshal when we come back.
Mr. Depp, do you see the statement attributed to Mr. Waldman?
I do indeed, yes.
And when's the first time that you saw this statement?
This is the same. It's the counterclaim to August 2020.
After you saw these statements for the first time, did you form an understanding as to where they appeared?
I didn't, as to where they had appeared, these statements.
In what publication?
No, off the bat, I didn't know exactly. It just seemed like a lot of word salad to me.
We'll show you more of what happened today inside the courtroom in Fairfax County, Virginia, in just a moment. But we have an update right now in the Love Triangle murder case we've been telling you about. Investigators suspect that 34-year-old Caitlin Armstrong, the woman you're looking at right here, is involved in the May 11th shooting death of cycling star Mariah Wilson. Armstrong is at large, and authorities are still searching for her. And today, the U.S. Marshal Service released surveillance video of Armstrong. The agency says she boarded a flight from Austin to Houston's Hobby Airport 3 days after the shooting. She then boarded a connecting flight. Investigators say she then went to New York's LaGuardia Airport. The Marshal Service tweeted that Armstrong was last seen wearing a blue denim jacket, black shirt, white jeans, a black COVID mask, and this is a bizarre detail, a possible yoga mat carrier on her shoulders. Armstrong is suspected of killing Wilson in Austin after finding out that Wilson had had an affair with Armstrong's boyfriend. Wilson was in Texas training for an upcoming race near Waco when a friend she was staying with discovered her body. Going to bring in a special guest to give us more information tonight. Joining me now from Austin, Texas, is Deputy U.S. Marshal Brandon Fillett. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Where are we right now in this search for this fugitive tonight?
Yeah, right now at this search with Caitlin Armstrong, this is the case that we adopted from the Austin Police Department. We're searching to find out where did she go when she landed in New York. They're at LaGuardia Airport. From that point is the unknown right now. I think, with this being an ongoing investigation, this is something that, is going to continue to have, updates as we proceed. We got individuals like yourself with the news, which then generates the social media that give us a good platform when our investigators can go out there like they did this week, and we're able to get that actual footage on surveillance at that airport that led us to Houston, that led us to LaGuardia. Those are breaking points in this investigation that gives us some type of direction of travel. Originally we focused here in Austin, and now we can say now we're going to New York, and we will try to find out what her association is there. And we're hoping that the public will give us some type of insight of a tip, and maybe she got on some type of Uber or Lyft, and they'll remember, transferring her somewhere on a ride. So that's really where our hopes are at right now until we can find out that, that destination point or, what type of association or family members that she may have in that area.
What do we know about the travel to LaGuardia, right? That's the last known place that we have the video. How many days ago was that?
So that travel actually took place on May 14th. She was depicted on surveillance camera there at the Austin airport around lunchtime, about 12:30 p.m., boards that flight. And that was, remember, that was 2 days after she was questioned by police, 3 days after the homicide occurred. So at this time right now, when she's seen on surveillance camera, there's still not a warrant for her arrest at that time.
Gotcha. Now, we live in a world, and we see it here, where people are wearing masks, right? Someone's wearing a mask in public now. It's not unusual. It's not like they're necessarily hiding something. It seems to me that she may be keeping that mask on, and you really have to look maybe for the long hair and other attributes.
Yeah, it's always been a disadvantage, unfortunately, with COVID-19 for the past 2 to 3 years, where, our investigators with this task force and others have encountered that problem. But I think with that descriptive, unique description of what she has with the long curly hair, and really continue to put her face out there. She's an individual that, traveler. You know, she was known to the Austin community. She had a realtor's license. She participated in yoga instruction. So, you know, she was also a cyclist as well. Can't say she was a professional like her victim, but that is really what we are hoping to spin up here when we talk about a description and able to give, you know, that updated information that was captured on surveillance camera. And that's really what we have to rely on, even when we're blocked with someone that's, you know, has a COVID mask.
Final question. If someone sees someone that they believe may be the suspect here, what exactly should they do?
One of the things is, you know, keep your distance. Try to keep a visual eye. And you can always, at the earliest convenience, contact your local law enforcement agency. If for some reason you have the time and you are safe, feel free to reach out to our U.S. Marshal tip line at 1-800-336-0102. We're constantly going through those tips. We've received approximately 37 tips from the weekend to this point. Some of those tips have been very helpful in guiding us to where we are now, to where we were able to develop information at the airport that led us to Longoria. So we're just going to continue more on the public support and assistance for this while we continue to look into other aspects as associations, our associates, and family members.
Brandon Phillip from the U.S. Marshal Service, appreciate your time tonight. Thanks so much. Stay in touch, and we'll stay on top of this, and anything we can do to help, we'll continue to do.
Thank you for having us on.
All right, when we come back, folks, time to hear from you, 13th juror. We're going to talk about Johnny Depp. We're going to talk about the damages that he's claiming. What damaged Johnny Depp more? Was it that op-ed written by Amber Heard, or was it testimony inside the courtroom? Your verdict next.
So I was always a very private person. So for me to come up here and stand before you, or sit before you all, and spill the truth is quite exposing. And it's unfortunate that it's not only exposing for myself, it's exposing for my family, it's exposing for Miss Heard, it's exposing for, it never had to go in this direction. And so I can't say that I'm embarrassed, because I know that I'm doing the right thing. About 6 years ago, Ms. Heard made some quite heinous and disturbing, brought these disturbing criminal acts against me that were not based in any species of truth. At the time, because the news of this, her accusations had sort of permeated the industry and then made its way through media and social media, became quite a global let's say, quote unquote, fact, if you will. And since I knew that there was no truth to it whatsoever, I felt it my responsibility to stand up not only for myself in that instance, but stand up for my children.
Johnny Depp on the stand, retaking the stand today in his rebuttal case, and powerful testimony today. But he is claiming damage, and let's not lose sight of what this case is. It's defamation based upon Amber Heard's op-ed in 2018. That's what they're claiming in the lawsuit is the source of the damage in this case. So I put it up on social media today asking you, which did more damage to Johnny Depp? Was it the 2018 op-ed, or was it his testimony? I mean, so much was revealed during the course of these last 6 weeks. Which did more damage to Johnny Depp? We begin with our 13th juror comment of the day. That is Kim, who says, the op-ed started it all, and Johnny's name was smeared from that moment on. As Johnny said, I lost right then. Nima, your thoughts about weighing those two, the potential damage that has been done to Johnny Depp through this very public trial versus the op-ed that was written by, well, signed by Amber Heard, but really written by the ACLU communications department.
Vinny, the answer is none of the above. This case has helped Johnny Depp, and I don't think anyone actually read the 2018 op-ed. This is something that Johnny Depp himself said. This is 6 years coming. This is all about what happened in 2016 and earlier, except guess what? The parties entered into a release. They said they love each other. There's a non-disparagement, but Amber Heard wouldn't let it go. Just take your $7 million, pay it to charities, stop talking about your ex-husband, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But this is all about 2016 and earlier, not about 2018, even though, of course, we're acting like it is for the purposes of this case.
Well stated. Alicia, tonight, during the trial, it became clear that his career was damaged before the op-ed. No one wanted to work with him. After Cross, it's become clear that he maliciously intended to ruin Amber's career, too. Misery loves company. He's a very destructive man, and I'm glad that it's all being exposed. Kirk Nurmi, do you think what is this trial about? Is it about Johnny reestablishing and clearing his name, or is it about bringing down Amber Heard?
Well, I'm going to completely disagree with Alicia. And sometimes I think, Vinny, the road we have to travel to impose truth upon the lies that others have cast upon us is sometimes a tough one to travel, but it's worth it because the cathartic effect, and we saw some of what Johnny spoke to that today, saying 6 years, I finally got my truth out. And I think ultimately at the end, this is going to make him a happier person, and he's going to make him a more employable as an actor and a better human being in the end. And I think that's what we're going to see out of this trial.
Heather, tonight, between the two presented choices, I would say the op-ed. It was clearly about Johnny Depp and intended to be that way. However, I would bring it back further to the TRO and subsequent People magazine cover story. Kyla Coleman, do you think the jury will distinguish between what happened in 2016 and the op-ed, or does it all kind of get kind of what Nima was saying, kind of getting mushed together here.
Yeah, I think for sure it'll be jumbled together. But I think what the bigger picture here is that Johnny got a chance to tell his story. And it's not often that we hear men talk about domestic violence, ever. So this is a chance for him to advocate for himself, maybe for other individuals who have been watching to advocate for themselves as well as men. Prior to coming into this case and watching this trial, I believed Amber. I honestly did. Now, having watched, having listened, having seen her demeanor on the stand and seen her character, I totally believe Johnny, and I hope that he receives justice in this case.
And, you know, there's something else, Nima, we should take away from this is the power of cameras and microphones in courtrooms to allow people to understand and trust our system a little better, right? Over there where they wear the wigs, no cameras, one judge, 71 years old, comes out and says, Johnny Depp is a wife beater, that's it, it's over. We do things a little differently here. I mean, much differently.
We do, Vinny, and you and I agree. We love cameras in the courtroom, not because we're here on Court TV every week, because it shines a light on our system of justice. Doesn't matter whether it's criminal or civil. But one thing I got to ask, and we see trends. Are we going to see a trend of abusers filing against their accusers going forward? Because clearly it's worked for Johnny Depp.
Yeah. And Kirk, that is a great talking point, because if you're falsely accused of something, it can destroy you. And you do have an avenue in our system of justice, which is defamation. I mean, that's our system is set up. Someone falsely accuses you, you can sue them for defamation. And that's what Johnny Depp says is happening right here. This is the proper use of our system if you believe you've been wronged.
Well, you're right, Vinny. I mean, this is exactly why we have defamation laws. We think about this op-ed, the way I look at this op-ed, it's another weapon of personal destruction that Amber Heard has used. It's no more different than the video she took of him, the tips she gave to TMZ, and the defamation case. And in fact, having cameras in that courtroom allowed him to tell his story in a different way. And that's exactly what our judicial system is in place for. And that's exactly what the kind of justice Johnny Depp, I think, is going to get at the end of this trial.
All right. Fantastic job tonight. Thank you so much, Kyler Coleman, Nima Rahmani, Kirk Nurmi. We'll see you again real soon. Wow. Don't forget, folks, tomorrow I'll be live in Virginia outside the courthouse. Come on by, say hi if you want. And then we'll be there on the verdict watch on Friday. In the meantime, I need your help. Skylar Richardson, 15-year-old from Bakersfield, California, has been missing since May 2nd. If you see Skylar, please call 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or the great folks over at the Bakersfield Police Department. Please, if you see Skylar, pick up the phone, make that call. Let's get her to safety. That's it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Have a great evening. And as always, don't forget to hug the kids.